Hello, I'm Lauren Millar. Now, I'm sure you are familiar with the expression salt of the earth. I don't think I've met anybody in my lifetime who really fits that description until now. This time on Journeys, I'm going to introduce you to Alexandra Morton, a woman who I think can truly be described as the salt of the earth. She came to this place called Echo Bay off the west coast of British Columbia more than a decade ago. She came here to study killer whales, and she stayed because she felt she belonged. These mountains, this coastline, these waters felt like home. Here, Alexandra Morton has found what most of us seem to have lost, and that's that true synchronicity with our natural environment. Now, because of that, and because of her insatiable curiosity, Alexandra Morton is beginning to understand the language of killer whales and Pacific white-sided dolphins. More than a decade of observational study in this beautiful, isolated place is making a significant contribution to science.
It's impossible to be depressed when you're surrounded by these guys.
So they actually like going along with the boat?
Oh, they think I'm a pool toy.
Alex Morton once studied killer whales in captivity. Now in a much bigger pool, she's the captive. Confined to her tiny research boat, Alex has spent hundreds of hours observing whales and dolphins while speeding through the bays and inlets of the Broughton Archipelago.
The faster I go, the more they like it. They start leaping like this. Oh, it's so good to see them back. I was afraid this would be the winter they never showed.
Wildlife biologists usually conduct their fieldwork for a few weeks or a few months a year, getting that quick snapshot of life at any given time. But with her daily, year-round observation, Alex Morton is acquiring an understanding of the ebb and flow of life in this place. In the world of science, that kind of long-term daily documentation is rare and offers an in-depth look at a priceless environment.
The big game with bow riding seems to be to bump your buddy off the bow.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of interactive behavior goes on. Holy smokes, there's a little guy.
Is that right?
Jesus, I don't believe it. That's a real little fella. That's a calf. That's the first one I've ever seen.
The first one ever?
Yes.
It's your good luck charm.
You are.
How many are you getting?
I haven't gotten one, but I've got to get that baby, and there's a couple of really, really well-marked ones here.
That's great.
The baby's real brown, like it's got some kind of diatom growth on it or something. There she is.
Oh, jeez. Can I help you at all?
Yeah, you could steer.
All right.
Just, I don't know what to tell you, though. I'm trying to kind of gently get in close to this gang here, and they're zigzagging along.
Okay.
The baby's in there. She's coming up right with Mom. Oh, there they were. They're over there now. Mainly, I'm trying to figure out why they're here, what they're eating, how many of them there are, what they're all about, just a little bit of their natural history. Very interestingly, their teeth are in the Indian middens around here. So they were here for 2,000 years. Then they left for the last 80 years. So I'm kind of curious about why that has happened. Well, the babies are coming in. We got the whole population now. Yeah, really. What I'm trying to do is get broadside to their fin. It's no good if the fin's coming right at me. So I'm looking for the fin to go by my camera broadside, and I take a picture, and most of the fins look different, so I can tell animals apart. I can tell apart about 360 different dolphins at the moment. You know, with the killer whales, I had only maybe 100 to work with, but the dolphins, There's 360 ID'd, and there's probably 1,000 different ones around, so it's a much bigger project. Date is October 2nd, 1995. We're at Smith Rock. About 50 dolphins, including at least 3 or 4 real youngsters, half-size.
The dolphin calves are a sign of change, an event that Alex can't yet interpret, but enthusiastically records.
Yeah. I feel pretty nosy a lot of the time, you know. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know, what are you saying? Why are you doing this? And I feel like I'm sort of eavesdropping and spying on this happy little group. But yeah, it's just a type of curiosity. What I really want to know is what they're saying. Yeah, I really want to be able to figure that out, either with killer whales or with dolphins. And I've worked on it for quite a few years with killer whales, and now I'm going to work on it with dolphins. I would like to know what another mind is saying, because I think our species has been alone way too long. You know, we need to hear from some of the other guys we share this planet with.
Since Alex was a little girl, she's wanted to understand how animals communicate. Then it was turtles and snakes. Now it's whales and dolphins. When she learned through Jane Goodall that she could spend her life observing nature and making a contribution to science, she knew she'd found her niche. When she found Echo Bay while following killer whales in a zodiac, she knew she'd found her home.
When we first entered these inlets, I thought we'd gone off the edge of the world, the known world. As a matter of fact, you know, I'd kept my finger on the chart as we moved along, because I was afraid if I lifted my finger off, I wouldn't be able to find where we were again. And it looked like a maze. Yeah, all these islands, it was hard to tell which was the channels and which were bays. And we got a little farther, and there was houses. And it was a cold October day, a lot like yesterday, rainy, drizzly. And these houses had warm smoke curling out of them, and I was just stunned. I thought, oh my gosh, there's people live back here. Right. But we got to Echo Bay, and we ran into this character named Billy Proctor. And we asked him the usual question, do you see whales in the winter? Well, he gave us dates, species, where they were. He knew how they reacted to the weather, all the rest of it. We thought, sold. We're coming to Echo Bay. We've had some major activity up in the front here. What is that?
Oh, he's doing it again!
Yeah, keep going.
So is it anything else other than play, or can you really tell when they leap out and kind of fall on their side?
Well, I think some of it might be fish herding, but most of it, to me, looks like either play or some kind of social interaction, whether it's dominance, you know, working out, or sex.
Oh, yeah? Because I know that so many people think that dolphins are smiling, you know, because of the turned up, and we attribute human characteristics to animal behavior.
A guy the other day phoned me up and he said there was dolphins carrying a plastic bag, first on one fin and then the other, trading it back and forth. And it's hard to imagine there's any real point to that other than play. You know, I think slowly scientists are realizing that to anthropomorphize is not that big a sin.
Yeah.
You know, there are lots of emotions going on out there in the animal kingdom. And the other thing is, you're looking at it through human eyes, so you're anthropomorphic as soon as you're born.
Yeah.
You know, you are seeing it through human eyes. You can't completely get away from that ever. Lauren, can you drop the hydrophone and turn the machine on?
Sure.
Oh, that's great, thanks.
Alex is the first to admit it's difficult to accurately interpret dolphin behavior. This kind of work can be endlessly frustrating because most of the time, the subject of her observations is underwater. Okay. Can hear them big time.
I see some bubble upwellings every now and then. That's the dolphins letting go air, probably to chase the fish up.
Oh, right.
Or surround them. The humpbacks do that, and because the fish would run from that wall of bubbles. and the dolphin could effectively corral them.
That's great.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're masters at fishing. They're plowing along underneath of them and just pushing them out of the water.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're pushing a big bow wave and the fish are in it. These are fast. See, all you're hearing is clicking. These guys aren't socializing much. They're just eating.
Yeah.
See how they keep coming up and kind of like doing a square.
Yep.
Well, they've got those fish on the run. We should go up there and try and dip a sample.
All right.
Why don't you take the net, and I'll try to get you into them.
Okay, and you just want a net full of stuff.
I just want one.
All right.
Right here, right here, right here. Down, dip it down. Just scoop.
Alex is particularly keen to discover what the dolphins are eating because there's controversy here about whether their appetite is consuming commercial fishers' profits. Alex suspects they're eating capelin and herring. But if not, it could mean trouble for the dolphins.
You got one?
Yes, 3!
Way to go.
They're purpley, silver-sided things. No, no worries.
There you have it. Capelin.
Capelin?
Yes.
Well, that's new to this area, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. See, a lot of the commercial fishermen think that they're eating salmon.
Yeah. And they're eating capelin.
They're eating capelin. Geekame Blackfish, sound 6'2"?
Oh, hi, Alex. Yeah, sorry, I was just rushing off to the back when you called.
I've got about 150 dolphins up here in Tribune and 5 or 6 half-sized, real small ones, calves. The first time I've ever seen it, and we picked up some of their prey, and it's capelin.
Well, good for you. Gosh, that's excellent. I've never seen the little tykes.
No, it's the first for me, but they're in here, and I recognize some of the adults. They've been in before, so yeah, it's been a real interesting day.
Excellent. Oh, that's good.
Okay, have a good one. Say hi to Jarrett for me.
Oh, yeah, always do.
Okay, see you later.
Jarrett is Alex's 14-year-old son. He's boarding with a family in Port McNeill so he can go to high school. It's the first time they've been apart since he was born, and Alex says it's the one painful sacrifice she makes to do this work. Jarrett was raised on the water while Alex studied whales. By the time he was 6, he was driving the boat. And soon after, he was helping with videotaping and reading charts. Being without Jarrett is hard on Alex, but at least her home is full, with 2 dogs, a baby on the way, and her partner, Eric, a man she met on the sea.
How
did you meet Eric?
He came up in his tugboat, and I'd seen him off and on through the years, and one day I was sitting on the bow of a friend's boat, and here comes the Gabriola around the corner, and it was great. I was really pleased to see him after all these years.
Oh, you'd met him before?
Yeah, he came up a few times just visiting, but this time he came back looking for me. And, yeah, that was pretty neat.
So what happened?
He asked if he could tie some of his logs up to my float.
Gee, that's romantic.
Yeah, my neighbors really laughed. They thought, that's a good line. And
can't use that in a bar in town.
Yeah, no, that's right. And so I let him tie his logs up, and we slowly got to know each other. It's very hard for a guy to come out here and sort of fit into this scene out here, you know, the community and being able to survive. But Eric knows all this stuff better than me, so it's been great, you know, because I had to do everything before, and now we can share the load. Are you off to Clint's? Oh, that'll be good. He needs a new roof. He needs a new roof.
I gotta go.
Okay, sweetie, have a good day. the girls, the welcoming committee.
They're the girls.
Nothing like dogs to welcome you home, eh? When you live out in the wilderness long enough, it's very hard to go back to the city. I become tuned into the tides and the wind, what different animals are doing, real subtle things that we were designed for as a creature, and it really gets under your skin. And once you're in it and you feel comfortable in it, it's hard to return.
Hello, girls. While Alex has regained what most of humanity seems to have lost in terms of a deep understanding and a oneness with the natural environment, it does come with a price. It really is a pioneer lifestyle here. You have to be completely self-sufficient. There's no jumping in the car for that one thing you forgot at the store. You communicate by radio phone. You pull start a gas generator for power. Catch your dinner from the sea. You're isolated in this breathtaking but sometimes frightening place.
We're all here. The girls.
When Alex's first husband died tragically, she learned to wield a dreaded chainsaw and to fire a rifle just to take care of herself and her infant son. When most of the community thought maybe she would pack it in and head back to the city, Alex surprised them all. And she surprised herself. But her love of this place kept her going. She believes it's the best place to do her work, and it's the best place to raise her son. Along the way, she learned that stamina and perseverance are good pioneer qualities. So when you're faced with hauling in all the winter firewood or building your own lab, just put one foot in front of the other, do a little at a time. Now that she and Eric are together, the joys of wilderness living are shared. So how would you describe Alex?
Dedicated, for sure, yeah, and resourceful. Loving and caring. So.
How do you work together? Do you work on the same projects, or are you together working on different projects?
But both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah, both really.
In the summer, there's lots and lots of fog, and I'm very afraid to go out in my boat in the fog. I won't leave sight of land, and but Eric will anchor his big boat, and then we go out in that little skiff of his, and just putter in amongst all the reefs, which in my boat is deadly. But in his skiff, you know, if we got stuck on a reef, well, you just jump out and push it off, and so.
And I carry a compass.
He carries a compass. He's not nearly as afraid of the fog as I am, which is neat. So we got to go out and just putter around, and also I tend to be one-track minded and just go where I think I'll see whales, and then miss all these other spots. I mean, I've been here for 11 years, and I'd never been to the place he took me a couple of weeks ago, and so. That's really nice, you know, in general, just to kind of give me a different viewpoint on my writing, on this place, on how to do things. I used to argue a lot. Eric would go, no, we have to do it this way, and then I'd just get my dander up, you know, I'd done it my way for so many years, and then, you know, after a few tries, I realized, geez, I better listen up here, because he's doing it a way better way, you know, so, yeah, that's been great all around.
Yeah. Alex used to think I was being difficult because I disagree about how to do something. You know?
Obviously, I knew the best way. That's what I thought, you know, but no, I didn't.
I guess that would have to be another thing I'd say about Alex is she's very stubborn.
Is that right?
So are you. Which is good. We're matched.
Not me, I'm not stubborn.
I go through the book and carefully look at all the fins, see if I can find that pattern again.
And you've got how many dolphins in here now?
There's 360 dolphins, and there's several pictures of a lot of them, so there's over 500 pictures here to look through.
It must take you hours to match.
It does, but it's work I really enjoy. It's, there he is. Okay, see? It's slightly different angle on the fin and very different lighting.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got the same stepped pattern there.
That's right.
And then that little dent there, and that's him.
Oh, that's wild. Photo identification is only part of Alex's work. she's also entering sound data with the hope of linking sound and behavior.
So by entering all of the sounds and all the sound patterns into the computer, then what do you hope to
Well,
find?
this will mainly help me tell the difference between sounds. It's very difficult when you're listening to these guys to remember, as you're getting up into the large number of sounds, whether this is the same as one you heard last week or the month before. This computer will allow me to instantly bring that back, and I can look at it, because we're primarily visual. Dolphins and whales are primarily acoustic, but because I'll have this picture, I'll be able to stick two of them up, I'll be able to hear the sound, and I'll be able to go, oh, those are the same, or those are slightly different. The thing about killer whales is they produce lots of different sounds in different states. But I began to think about it, like, how would I figure out, if I was an alien, how would I figure out what you and I are talking about right
Exactly.
now? There wouldn't be many
That's a tough
clues,
one.
right?
Yeah.
But if I was to follow you around, when you first go to work in the morning, there'd probably be words like, good morning, would come up. You know, did you have a good sleep? What are we doing today? Certain little phrases would come up. When you were saying good night, like to a child, good night, sweet dreams, you know, sleep well. Certain words would come up. You might get any other words in there, but certain ones would come up more. And so I thought that's what I would apply to the whales. Just look at a behavior and then the overall sound usage. And certain sounds are used more than others.
That's amazing.
Anything might occur, but certain ones, and so I'm getting the good mornings. Hello, how are you? We're all turning around now. Whatever, you know, it's, it was the only way I could figure of going at it, but I always think of it, that brain within the whales and dolphins is a biological computer, a biocomputer, and there's another biocomputer here.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to link up.
Yeah.
And I think constant exposure is the best, and that's going to be the answer.
You certainly have a good start. It must have been quite interesting when you finally said, I think that's what this means.
Oh yeah, very exciting. You know, it's very. I once made that sound back to a male killer whale that was going by, and he came by the boat, and when he opened his blowhole, I figured he could hear me the best, and I leaned over the side of the boat and went, "Pow!" like that. Whew, he threw on the brakes, came up, and he spy hopped right into the boat, just raised himself right up, you know, 5-6 feet, right beside the boat.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
And I got these just chills up my spine, because I thought, I said something to him. I'm not sure what I said to him, but
I hope I wasn't rude.
said something to him. Yeah, I hope I wasn't rude. And it's funny because I've done that to him many times now since then, and he's like, oh yeah, I know you can do that. Come on, let's get a little bit more advanced. But just that thrill of knowing I had said something was wonderful. And I
got a reaction.
Yeah, it's big reaction, yeah. Matter of fact, a fisherman came over to see if we were okay, because everything looked so close. He was afraid our boat had been overturned.
Right.
But no, the whale had been very gentle.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
neat.
Killer whales used to cruise past Alex's dock. One day, they disappeared. Now Alex is leading a fight to bring them back.
Right here, and when we look out the window, we're seeing this view right here. Nothing can pass through here without being blasted acoustically.
Alex Morton can pinpoint almost to the day when killer whales left Fife Sound. It was the day that fish farmers turned on acoustic devices called seal scarers, emitting underwater tones the audio equivalent of a jet engine during
See the
takeoff.
farms here, but each one of these lines represents where I've heard that unit. And the interesting thing is, it's heard right across land masses down Fife Sound. Now, Fife Sound is a major highway for killer whales. They come in, and then they want to go this way and up like that. But now the sound has just completely blanked out this area for them. And what's happening is it's coming down, hitting land masses, and bouncing back up. It's even audible behind this island. The problem is the seals are coming anyway, and the only thing they've really effectively eradicated is whales.
Right.
And so
What's the alternative route, or is there an alternative route that you've...
no, they just can't get in here anymore, because this is a crossroads, and that's why Echo Bay Community is right here, because you've got all your main access routes coming right to this
I see.
area. It's the hub.
Is this a fish farm up here?
Yep.
What began as a research project observing killer whales has developed into a long-term study of the entire ecosystem. So when the seal scarers chased the killer whales out, Alex began to document their absence, just as she had once recorded their behavior. And she began to examine the cause of their departure, revealing an international issue rife with controversy.
You really can't support a family on the wages.
Seems to be such a contentious issue, though. I mean, you've even been threatened, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is, because it's big business, you know, and no one wants some single individual to get in the way of big business.
So do you think the threats were serious, or do you think that it was just, people blowing off some steam?
I think it was just people blowing off some steam, yeah. That's where the hydrophone is?
Yeah, okay.
Have a listen.
Fish farms have introduced more than noise to these waters. Diseased fish have escaped, infecting wild coho. Seals and seabirds who've come too close to the fish pens have washed ashore dying from bullet wounds. And currents have carried fish food and excrement throughout these bays, making the seabed inhospitable for bottom feeders.
It's a kilometer and a half away.
And you can hear it this
And
loud.
we can hear it this loud, yeah, that's right.
So that's it.
Yep.
So what's that cycle?
It's on a variable schedule. It goes a few times, and then there's a bit of silence, and then it goes again.
And what you said, it's 210 decibels?
210 decibels, that's right.
Oh, man. It's nasty.
Yeah. I don't want to cut off anybody's livelihood. You know, I know these farmers are out here trying to make a living. Some of them are my friends or were my friends. Or that's the part of it I don't like. I don't want to impact these people. But these big corporations that come into an area and have no respect for the people that are already there and the wildlife that's already there, that's a problem that's worldwide. And I really think that local people have to stop it. They're the only ones that know what's going on.
Your work is so heavily involved in first studying whales and now dolphins, and to get involved in this as well is a lot of work and energy.
Yes, this is an irritant. You know, this is something I wish would keep going away. You know, with somebody else, I'd like someone else to deal with this, but it keeps coming in my face. You know, these seal scares and the dead animals and the sick fish and the Atlantic salmon, and now that I'm known for being interested in this, people bring me more information, and I just can't let the ball drop because I'm in a situation. I was here before the farms, so I know what this place should look like, and now I'm watching the progressive degradation of the area, and that's very rare. I mean, usually what happens when there's a problem is people say, well, we don't know what was there before, and so we can't really say anything, but I do know what was here before, and it's not here now.
And you've documented.
I've documented it, yes, that's right. Where are we going, guys? This is what I never know. You know, they're in a big hurry.
Yeah.
They've come out of someplace. Yeah, they'll go and go like this and then stop, and you don't know what got them going and what stopped them.
Alex's work on the fish farm issue has left her little time for the work she loves, observing dolphin behavior. 10 years ago, she'd see only 1 or 2 dolphins around here. They prefer the open sea. But now something has driven them here by the hundreds. And these are the kinds of environmental changes Alex enjoys investigating. Her photography is helping her understand their social dynamics. Her sound recordings are helping to link specific behaviors with specific sound, ultimately to understand their language. Her deep commitment to this place is beyond measure. It's evolved through the joy of discovery and the pain of tragedy. She first found these bays and inlets while following killer whales with her husband and research partner, Broughton Morton. Robin with his film camera and Alex with her tape recorder. Then one day, while scuba diving with killer whales, Robin didn't surface.
He was using a very risky piece of equipment called a rebreather, and what it does is it emits no bubbles. Now, when whales and dolphins want to threaten each other or are very excited, they release bubbles out of their blowhole, but normally they keep it all sealed up. Even when they're vocalizing, they just move air around inside and they don't emit bubbles. So Robin thought if he didn't make bubbles, maybe the whales would let him get closer, because maybe the bubbles made him look aggressive to them. So he got this piece of equipment called a rebreather, and it recycles your air. And what happened was a little valve got clogged and you got less and less oxygen. And it's just something our body isn't designed to warn us about. And so he would be breathing, thinking everything was fine. And in fact, he went unconscious, but he went unconscious underwater. So the respirator fell out of his mouth and he drowned.
Where were you?
I was in a boat not far away. And by the time I realized it had just been a little too long, I went in there and he was lying on the bottom, and I went down and got him, but it was too late.
You went down to get him?
I went down to get him, yeah. It was only about 25, 30 feet of water.
What was that like for you?
Oh, it was the end of the world. You know, the world just cracks at times like that, and everything has changed in an instant, everything. And yeah, it was very disorienting for the next few years after that. Matter of fact, I didn't want anything to do with whales for a few months. I didn't want to go on the water again. I felt, the whole life itself was unsafe. But, 10 years later, you heal slowly, and that's the nice thing about life. It does go on.
Why did you stay here?
I stayed here because this is my home.
Even then?
Oh, even then. And everyone assumed I would leave, but then I would have had nothing that we had together. Everything would have changed. At least here, there was continuity and everything we had built together. And I almost felt like Robin had given me this place. I would never have ended up here without him. And so he got me here, he got me set up, and then he died. And I didn't want to waste all that, So, yeah, I was very adamant. My father called and he goes, "I'm coming to take you home." And I'm like, "No, Dad, thanks very much, but I am home." There, it's got one.
Oh, Bill's got one.
The Echo Bay community rallied around Alex after Robin died. They helped her become self-sufficient so she could take care of herself and her young son. And Alex never misses an opportunity to give back. Today, the people of Echo Bay are working on keeping their community self-sufficient by collecting salmon roe for their fish hatchery. Wild salmon have been decimated here by logging that destroyed spawning grounds and by diseased fish farm stock that reduced wild salmon by 55%. The workers have mere moments to get this captured wild salmon down a slippery path and into the fish hatchery, where their roe could be compromised. While Alex is here to help as a member of the community, this work is just another part of her role as a resident scientist.
Yeah, that's Billy Proctor. He's one of the founders of the hatchery. He's a commercial fisherman and feels it's really important. Commercial fishermen spend their time in the winter trying to help the stocks out. He donates a lot of time. And it's kind of a party for the rest of us, We don't have the responsibility of keeping these fish alive and figuring out when they're coming in and everything, but we love gathering and just lending our hand. The results have just been miraculous. We have big, vigorous coho coming in here again. And what's really neat about it is most of this effort's volunteer. Okay? Yeah, Justin.
Look out, you guys.
The nice thing about bringing fish back is that you not only provide them for the fishermen, but you do provide them for the whole ecosystem. And salmon are amazing. These fish are going upriver, they're feeding bears all the way, then they'll die. Their carcasses will feed eagles. Then the babies come out, they feed trout and all kinds of fish as they go out to sea. Killer whales, seals, sea lions, fishermen, and then they come back and it starts over again. So they're one of those species on the planet like herring and lemmings and caribou that just produce in such huge numbers that everyone depends on them.
With all elements of the ecosystem so interconnected, it's not surprising the fish farm issue is raised again. In spite of her well-documented observations that infected fish farm stock are in these waters, Alex has found a general inertia to fight against the large corporate owners.
It's been very, very difficult to get the government to actually realize that there is a problem. This is a problem in Norway, Scotland, Ireland, Chile, all the big salmon farming nations. I write to those people and they tell me, if you want to clear up the disease out of your rivers, you're going to have to talk to the fish farms. But the government here won't recognize that connection. So by documenting the fact that diseased fish are coming in from the saltwater already sick, is indicating at least that that disease did not initiate itself in the river. And then we find in Atlantic, well, we know that's from a farm and it's sick as well. Yeah. It's evidence to build a case to be more careful. And that's really all I'm asking for.
So when you come here, you're the only one, really, that's looking at that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, it's kind of my role in this community because I am a scientist and documentation has always been my way of life. I just kind of fit naturally into that role. So I've been coming up here daily with Billy and a small crew, and we've caught a couple of fish, but it's been most useful for documenting everything that goes on. Otherwise, things happen and, you know, the information gets lost. There needs to be somebody who's dedicated to just keeping the records. Dolphins, they are wonderful. They make me smile. Every time I'm with them, I just, you know, I don't know. I always get that song in my mind. I love a parade, because that's how they are. I'm going along, it's like, we love a parade, and off we go. And they have that spirit about them.
While observing the various elements of the ecosystem from salmon to seabirds to dolphins, Alex Morton is developing an understanding of the weave of life here. But her first love is recording the behavior and vocalizations of whales and dolphins. She has an insatiable desire to know everything she can about them.
I'm deeply curious about that big cetacean brain they're carrying around. For a diving mammal to have a huge brain is very expensive because a brain requires a lot of oxygen, a lot of blood. It's not an organ that a diving mammal would evolve unless they really needed it. So I keep thinking about that large brain, and then I listen to them chattering away down there, and I want to know what they're talking about. I want to know what's going on with them, what's important to them, what do they know.
So what keeps you doing it? What keeps you interested and, you know, enthused enough to go out every day on the water?
Because I always see something new. Maybe not 2 days in a row, but the 10th day, there'll be something new. It's like, you know, it's like looking for pearls. You get one, and then it's a long time, and then you get another little pearl, and you slip that on your chain, and then you get another one, and pretty soon they add up to a story. But once you're halfway through, you know there's that much more to go, and I will never be done. There'll always be something I haven't seen or heard of, and that's the nice thing about having other people, other researchers to talk to as well, because there's researchers I know are as good as me or better than me at observing things, and if they tell me they saw something, there's another little pearl, you know, and yeah, you just never know what you're going to see every day you go out there. This is the tough thing about this kind of research when you're dealing with a wild animal. You've got to watch them for hundreds and hundreds of hours, and then you might see something you understand. I know that from killer whales. They have what I call aha days where, that's what this is all about, you know. So many days I just, you know, it's like, why did they do that? Why did they come from here? What are they doing here now? Why weren't they here yesterday or last week? What is going on in these waters that they want to be here right now? And that's where a long-term study comes in. You just keep collecting information on everything you can think of. The more you watch in and the more attuned you get and the more sensitive you get to little changes, and that's where you start picking up the information, is when you get really tuned in.
What kind of changes have you seen?
I've seen a real drop in salmon. That's been the biggest concern. I've seen fish of all types become harder to catch. I've seen the community become more concerned. I no longer take the whales for granted. The fishermen no longer take the fish for granted. We all know that we have to do something to keep them here. When I first came to this place, as I said, it looked like an uncharted wilderness. Now it feels like a precious little gem. And I have a tremendous sense that what I have learned and all the information that animals have shared with me, I need to use that to help them continue their survival. And pretty well everyone that's in my situation where they've gone out and they're studying a wild creature ends up negotiating with politicians and bureaucrats and trying to represent an area fairly. And I feel very strongly about us as a race learning to, or as a species, learning to live in an environment. And surely we can learn to live in a place and not destroy it. We don't have to be excluded from an area in order for it to survive. And so that is what I feel is my biggest purpose right now, is to try and sort of be a go-between between a few species as I understand them and our species, and try to find a balance so that people can survive here and so can the whales and dolphins.
So what's the most exciting whale story you can remember?
Well, when I was first learning to boat, I didn't have a compass, and I was out with some whales out in this body of water here, which is quite big, and I'd been following them all day, and they'd kind of been zigzagging along, and there was a fog bank coming in, and I thought, well, when the fog gets a little closer, I'll take off, because I didn't really want to get caught in the fog. But while I was looking down writing my notes, it just came over me like a wet blanket. All of a sudden my paper's wet, and I can feel the moisture on my skin. And it was absolutely terrifying because you can't see anything. You don't know which way you're going to head out to the open Pacific or which way you're heading back to land. And to make things worse, at that moment the great big sound of a cruise liner propeller came over my hydrophone. And I was sitting down there where they come up out of Johnson Straits. So I had this feeling of panic just rising up through my body, and I was thinking, you know, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It was flat, calm like this, so there wasn't even a wave pattern to follow.
Oh, man.
And all of a sudden, the whales came up right alongside the boat. And I had this enormous sense of relief. I thought, I'll stick with them. You know, wherever they go, at least they won't get hit by the cruise liner.
Right.
That was before I knew that they like to bow ride on cruise liners sometimes, but ignorance is bliss. I didn't know that then. And so I started up my motor. I was in a little 12.5-foot Zodiac, and I thought, I'll follow them. And then my next thought was, how am I going to follow them in the fog? It was so thick. I'm going to lose them the next time they dive. Well, I didn't. For the next 20 minutes, they kept coming up on either side of the boat, crisscrossing underneath of me. And pretty soon I could just barely make out a little island in the fog. I thought, land, I don't care what island it is. That's where I need to be, because it was getting late, too. It was getting towards sunset. So I sped off towards the island and broke out of the fog. I'm back out in this beautiful, clear sunset. And I was back where it started from.
Oh, that's weird.
And I thought, oh, well, right on. As soon as the whales come out of the fog, I'll carry on with my research. Well, they never did come out. And so what had happened was we'd been going one direction. They turned around, took me to the edge of the fog, and when I was safe, they turned around and went back into the fog, continuing, assuming in their original direction. Boy, that left me scratching my head, you know, like, did this really happen? Had they saved me? Was that even possible?
Yeah.
I still don't know, but that's what happened.
This is one of Alex's favorite spots to stop and wait and watch. Sometimes she writes, sometimes she records, and sometimes she just catches dinner. Most importantly, though, she observes the world around her to contribute to our understanding of this place. Alex Morton fills a scientific void by offering a long-term observational study of the balance of this ecosystem.
On a still day like this, you can hear whale blows for a long ways.
How long do you see yourself being here doing this work?
Oh, forever.
What does that say about you as far as what you're like, that you like living out here?
Probably says I'm a little bit odd. Yeah, I think so. Most people seem to congregate in cities and really like to have a place to go and shop and go out to restaurants and this kind of thing. But it's just, I don't know, this is just my niche. This is where I belong.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell me.
I got it. I got something.
That's great. Oh, there it is. Don't know what it is.
Oh, it's a quillback.
Now that is one ugly fish. Jeez, look at it.
Oh, they're kind of neat looking, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, these are very tasty.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, Mocha. Okay, Mocha. I think that the best thing that I've done is to remain in one place for 11 years. I think that being in a place for a long time allows you to say something very real about it and to protect it. The only way any place on this planet is going to get protected is if we really understand it. And so we need to know how the pieces fit together. And that I feel is the most important thing. The science will come in little bits and pieces. There'll be a little story on the dolphins. I'll contribute a little bit on the whales, a little bit on the salmon. But the best thing I can do is give continued life to this place, and that's what I hope for.